So here we can see, like, for example, we have Bryn Kenny, Justin Bonomo, Daniel Negreanu, Eric Seidel. Like, I would say, like, Bryn Kenny is a phenomenal player, but it's probably not top 5 or 10 when it comes to, like, being theoretically. Like, if he plays online poker against, you know, the people that's been running the Sims, he might not be top 10. Or I can almost assure you he's not top 10. But when you look at him as a live player, what he can pick up at the table, he plays like a completely different style than everyone, and it seams to be working well for him.
Because there's such a big difference between playing live versus playing online.
Yeah, and it's also like exploiting who his opponents are. I mean, in the high rolls right now, you have a lot of businessmen, and he seems to be much better playing against them than some of the other ones. If you look into Steven Chidwick, he's a very like good theoretical player. Jason Kuhn also, but I think Jason Kuhn plays phenomenal against any like VIP player.
What about Holtz? Because he's like one of the few non-Americans. Fedor Holtz.
Fedor Holtz. Fedor Holtz, he doesn't play that much poker anymore. I think he was way ahead of the curve when he was playing actively. And of course, he also ran extremely well for a period of time. But at the same time, he was probably the best when he was at the upswing. If you look at players like Sam Greenwood, Nikita, I'm not going to, Budiakovsky, these are like two very, very strong theoretical players. If you compare those, and same with Isaac Haxton, David Peters, very good. But if you look at, Bonomo is also very good, but it's hard to say like who's in top 10. So if I were to pick like the strongest players out of the top 40 list, in terms of like being theoretical, I would start with, well, this is just top 10. I'm not going to like say number 1 is 1 and stuff. But I would say David Peters probably in there, Chidwick, Jason Kuhn, Ike, Nikita, Vogelsang, Sam Greenwood, Timothy Adams, possibly Kurganov. Dominic Nietzsche plays like a very unique style, so it's hard to say if it's like as good. I don't know, like I'm nowhere near the level these guys are anyway, so it's hard for me to say like, who I think is better. I think it probably would, well, he definitely would have been top 10 also. Nick Pietrangelo, and possibly Foxen if I have a spot left.
Okay. So I think if you were to choose, I mean, you said it's difficult to judge exactly, but if you were to choose one player here, which you would absolutely not want to play against, who would that be?
Not want to play against?
Yeah.
In terms of cash game or in a tournament?
Let's do both. One for each.
Well, I mean, I could say Isaac Haxton probably, and that would be both.
Okay.
And same Nikita. I mean, I think he plays a lot of Hold'em, so in PLO he's not as good, but Isaac Haxton is just like top player in both games. So. And
it's Hold'em and PLO. That's what people are playing these days.
Yeah, and I mean they play some short deck also, which means Hold'em, but they remove all the deuces, 3s, 4s, 5s from the deck. Yeah. So it's a bit different game and different hand rankings, but yeah.
What about if you could have like a 6-person table? Which players would you want to play against them?
Which PLO cash game?
Yeah, sure.
I'd probably play against Negreanu. Probably put Nikita in there because he doesn't play much PLO from what I know. Oh, he's too good anyways. He's gonna be better spots here. So Negreanu, Carry Katz, Helmut, even though he's so tight. So now we got 4 players, 2 more spots. Probably put in Paul Fua, good action.
All right.
And we have 1 more spot. Phil Ivey, why not?
Okay.
So
because that's like, I mean, if I were just to look at this list and like pick the guys who I think are the most famous, I would go with Negreanu and Ivy and Helmet probably. Like those are the people who I would have heard the most about.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the person you heard the most about who's the best.
Nowhere close to it these days. It's just all about running the simulations. And also putting it into your game and understanding why it actually you're supposed to do certain things and not play like the same way people did like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Which I think is Helmut's weakness, but also Helmut's strength is like he's a likable person, so he gets into like really good games where he is a massive favorite. Yeah. And poker it's not really about being the best, but it's about being in games where you have the biggest edge, right?
Yeah. So relative strength is the key.
Yeah. Like if I were to play against the people in the house here, I probably wouldn't be a favorite at all. But if I were to play against you guys, I would be a massive favorite.
Yeah.
So
the only way I'd go about it is play so low stakes it would bore you to death.
Yeah. Well, got a competitiveness in me, so we'll see how that works.
This might be a stupid question, but why is out of the top 20, is 15 of them from the US?
I think like poker has most of the big tournaments used to be in the US also, and poker in the US is much more. It's accepted to like play high stakes poker. It's cool. Like if you lose a lot of money, it's
cool.
It's not cool, but at least you like. Yeah. Some of these people can really afford to lose like $10 million, and they want to play against the best.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you were into chess and you could play against Magnus Carlsen, you wouldn't stand a chance. But if Magnus Carlsen said, well, I want to play you, but I want to play for 50K, you're like, okay, cool, that's fine. Even though you know you're going to lose, you're going to be like, it's a cool thing to do.
You got a chance to play against Magnus Carlsen.
And if you're a billionaire, like, and you end up beating Magnus Carlsen, you have bragging rights for the rest of your life. Yeah. And that 50K wire from Magnus Carlsen is going to go on your wall.
I think I'd go rock, paper, scissors against these guys if I could choose that or poker.
Yeah, so it's just all about, I think also, I mean, because it's like much more an open and more accepted in the US, it's much easier to start playing it. And I guess most of these guys have throughout their life been living in Vegas. That has like, the WSOP in the summer and a lot of high stakes cash games, so they've been able to grind up a better bankroll. Yeah. And when the high roller scene started in poker, they were able to play most of them because they had bigger bankrolls than the ones who's been playing online.
What about live versus online? Because obviously if you're playing live, you're going to play a lot fewer hands than cash game or online. So how does that sort of like factor into things? Like, you should only be playing like this amount of live versus cash game online, or how does that work? So
playing online poker, you get in a lot more hands, but the stakes are much lower and the games are much tougher. Yeah. Because you're basically sitting and playing against all these people that's been studying so hard. But whereas when you play live poker, the majority of people, I mean, don't get me wrong, you're going to play against great opponents live also, but the bad opponents you're playing against are the VIPs. They might not have that much understanding of what's going on. And even the bad players that plays online, I really shouldn't call them bad, but because they're not really bad anymore. But they are,
because the average level of the people playing online today is much higher than what it was, let's say.
Yeah, like ago. What we call a VIP online, he might not even be considered a VIP if he plays live poker. And you just get to play against some people that really doesn't think about poker the same way you think about poker. And it's softer game, so you have much higher win rate in terms of big blinds per 100 hands played. And you're hourly because you can play higher in those games also. It turns out to be higher. So if I would be allowed to play in games with 3-4 businessmen and play stakes of 100, 200 or 200, 400, I would much rather do that than sit online and play 25, 50, 50, 100. Even though 25, 50, 50, 100 when they run with a spot online is also it's pretty good. Yeah. So
if you were to change from PLO to No Limit Hold'em, would your 6-man game opponents change a lot there?
Well, like Nikita is probably one of the best Hold'em players, alongside with Jason Kuhn. For cash game, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, they're all gonna be good, so it's hard to say. Like, but tournaments, it's like you have to have a different mindset in a way.
Okay.
Like, because there's antes. Some cash games doesn't have antes, and you know you're gonna have to play a lot looser when there's antes because there's more in the middle. So you gotta try to fight for that a bit more.
Yeah.
You're also a lot more short stack when you play tournaments usually than when you play cash game. When you play cash game, you can be like 500 big blinds deep or even deeper. Whereas in tournaments, you're like usually looking to be around 50 bigs or like 30 to 50 bigs. So it's a very different game. So it's hard to compare it.
So early stage when one is playing a tournament, would one sort of be looking, I mean, I guess it depends on the buy-in, but would you typically look to sort of try and double up fast, or are you also like patient there? Is like, I just try to double up or whatever, and then if it fails, I just start a new tournament. Is that?
Well, I mean, it depends on the tournament you're playing in, your table position. If you're playing in one of the high rollers today with like 100K to $1 million buy-in, and you have a great table, let's say you have 2 or 3 VIPs at your table, you don't want to go out and re-enter and might not get that table. So then you want to play softer. If you're at the tough table and you get into like what we say a cooler, you much rather just say, okay, bring on the variance. I'm going to re-enter anyways, and hopefully I'll get a better table next time if I bust. So it's hard to like come with a simple answer because there's so many factors that you got to consider.
Because I mean, I never played anywhere near these levels when I was in high school, but I just remember, you know, playing and people just taking 50-50 coin flips just straight away just to see if they could double up. So there would always be like a couple of people on the table.
I mean, when you're playing with friends in high school, it's different because nobody remembers how many re-entries you've taken. Yeah. But if you win it, people are going to remember who won it. So it's more about the personal pride, not the plus EV spots.